Hello, thank you, colleagues, for making it to meeting room 2. Of course, to start with, I would like to thank the Secretariat and GCF for being here at the podium with me. As just mentioned, we have an advisory panel composed by Ewan from the GCF, the Islamic Development Bank online, and the Institutional Investors Group on Climate Change, also online. And with the permission of the Secretariat, I understand I'm also allowed to chip in my side. My name is Damiano Borgogno. I work with the United Nations Capital Development Fund. And we're going to listen to 3 cases, one from Turkey, one from Russia, and one from Liberia. We are actually having the first 2 cases from Turkey and Russia, which are to be presented online. So the modus operandi would be to listen to the case, maybe to each case, and then to have So after the presentation of each case, we'll have some advices or comments from the advisory panel. And after this, I also encourage you as participants to step in and to provide your views. We have roughly an hour, so approximately 15-20 minutes per case. With this in mind, I would encourage to start with the first case from Turkey, which is named Strengthening Institutional Technical Capacity in Turkey's Afulu sector for NDC implementation and the 2053 net zero target. I understand the Secretariat has this online. Hello, Pinar. Thank you for being here. Can you hear us?
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, I hear you clearly. Can you hear me also?
Yes, I mean, some minor adjustments, I think, from our side, but I think it's good to go from your side. So I would ask you to present the case from your side in approximately 7-10 minutes. And once you're over, I would request comments from or advices from the advisory panel and from the participants here in the room. Pinar, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, distinguished delegates and representatives and colleagues. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all here today. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to co-chairs of the Mitigation Work Program for giving us the unique opportunity. And at the same time, the Mitigation Work Program is the most affected platform for the parties to share knowledge, experience, and the best practices. On behalf of Turkey, I would like to express our gratitude once again for all your efforts and commitments. I would like to share with you the Turkey's project proposal on agriculture, forestry, and other land use. This project, we can move to the next page. Thank you. The project represents Turkey's concentrated steps to strengthen institutional and technical capacity in the Afulu sector, fully aligned with our NDC and the 2053 net zero target. The proposals show our determination to advance mitigation while creating co-benefits for the sustainable development, adaptation, and ecosystem resilience. This project will provide basis for more planning and more ambitious climate action for the FLO sector. Through this initiative, we aim to build stronger foundation for the integrated FLO governance to enabling to better align with the policies and the climate efforts in this sector. We are focusing on the strengthening our understanding of the synergies between agriculture and LULUCF. Next slide, please. And I would like to take a closer look at the project overview. The FLO sector is the absolutely center of the Turkey. We all know that the Turkey is the part of the Mediterranean basin, that the vulnerable of the climate change. And every year we see that more drought, flood, wildfire all over the world, and also Turkey. These events pressure on the ecosystem and rural communities, but also cause to lose our carbon sink and become a new source for the emission, these sectors. That's why we would like to focus on this sector. This sector offers a huge potential, not only for the carbon sink, but also source of the sustainable solution. And that's why this project focuses on the, first of all, the strengthening institutional and technical capacity. We need to make sure that our experts, our institutions, and our policies can work together and integrated the same way. With this, FLO will become a real driver for our climate mitigation strategy. And this project also aligns with our NDC and long-term strategy and our transparency commitments. This is not only the reducing emissions, but also to support adaptation and protect ecosystem and the deep understand on this sector. And also, this project responds directly to CMA decision on NDC accounting and ETF for the BTR to monitoring and reviewing. And this project and our work in FLO sector fully align with the not only national but also international climate framework. Next slide, please. And if we would like to talk on the implementation phase, we realized during the preparation of our second NDC and after submit our long-term strategy and the mitigation action plan, we realized that we would like to see the FLO sector's real potential on mitigation and adaptation. And during the preparation period, we saw that we need more expertise on this issue, and we need the more institutional coordination and technical capacity. That's why we would like to decide to prepare this project to focus on this issue to enhance our institutional and the technical capacity. And the agriculture and LULUCF sector, as you know, the most affected sector by the climate change and facing serious risk. But as I mentioned previously, high potential for the mitigation and adaptation and the natural and cheapest solution. And during the fifth mitigation work program dialogue was so insightful for me. During the discussion on the forestry, it shows us we are not alone all over the world. In general, everybody faces a similar problem or similar challenges. That's why it's so valuable to exchange knowledge and experience among the countries during the fifth of mitigation work program global dialogue. In this project, we, in terms of the institutional context, to my directorate of the climate change, that is the UNFCCC focal point, will be the lead owner for this project and responsible for the climate mitigation efforts and other documentation to coordinator also. We would like to design this project to integrate with the international commitments and the national commitments, both of them. And if we would like to talk about the financial framework, we just we had a project on the LULUCF technical capacity project funded by EU that we successfully completed this project. This experience provide us the benchmark for the financial framework. And if we look at the strategic alignment, the Apollo sector is systematically integrated into the Turkey's NDC long-term strategy action plan and the mitigation policies. That's why all this project proposal and the structure to align with the our national priorities and international climate goals under the UNFCCC. Next slide, please. Looking at the bigger picture, if you talk about the project timeline and our long-term vision, as I mentioned before, so when we were preparing our long-term strategy action plan and during the second NDC preparation, we realized that Apollo is the strategic area for our climate agenda. That's why during the NDC preparation, we already developed our model, in-house model, and if we aim to more ambitious target, we must base on the work robust data, effective interagency coordination, and coherent policy framework. That's why we would like to focus on the Apollo sector to see the real potential for the mitigation and also adaptation. And after this year, after submission of NDC, now we will focus on the project implementation, first of all, to capacity building, the training national expert on IPCC methods, and establishing coordinating mechanism with the relevant stakeholders in Turkey, and also accelerating the implementation of the NDC. That's why we choose the NDC period during the 10 years from 2025 to 2035. And this project also provide for us to support our not only NDC implementation but also NDC accounting, transparency, and reporting under the Paris Agreement. And with this project, Turkey step by step to realize their long-term approach and achieve our net zero target with this important sector. Next slide, please. And the structure of our project, previously I mentioned that Directorate of Climate Change under the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change will be the lead. And this project aims to capacity building for the experts and coordination, enhance the coordination. This project design, we make sure that don't duplicate the other institutions are doing. For example, the Minister of Forestry and Agriculture main responsible for that issue, and also Turkey Statistic Institution is the responsible for the national inventory report. That's why we don't want to duplicate with them. We don't want to overlap with them. We just prepare our structure to build capacity building for the NDC preparation team with also the relevant stakeholders. That's why this project aims to capacity building, institutional coordination, and enhance, accelerate for the NDC's implementation, reporting and accounting process. For the finance, our project has total cost $2 million. We request as a grant. If you talk about the grant, the Turkey's current national investment program for now to focus on infrastructure investment and some kind of another investment for the in the short term. For now, we don't have for capacity building activities budget for FOLO sector. That's why we need international support, and also the international support is critical. This project allows us to train experts, strengthen institutions, and integrate FOLO to systematically in our national climate policies. In overall, this project about creating basis of the FOLO sector, that knowledge, coordination, and policies. And when we enhance our FOLO sector to invest our experts, for the long-term period, we will provide also resilience on the ecosystem, adaptation, and sustainable future for Turkey. Next slide, please. And lastly, if we talk about the impact of the project, Turkey has a great potential on agriculture and LULUCF sector. Almost 30% land, forest land we have, and also our agriculture areas, 24 million hectares. And we have really good opportunity for the carbon sequestration, but climate change impacts pressure on Turkey more than before. For example, 2021, we had a mega forest fire, and that caused 10 million emission for Turkey. That's why we would like to protect, we would like to enhance our policies to stop this issue. And in a basic calculation estimation, in a year, almost we can avoid 750,000 tons emission every year. During the 10 years, because of the NDC period, almost 7.4 million ton carbon dioxide equivalent emission we will avoid, according to the IPCC calculation, based on the IPCC. And beyond all numbers and all calculation, we will build expertise, and we will create strong institution and robust policies on this issue. We will integrate FOLO to our current policies, and we will enhance our mitigation policies, and we will reach to our net zero target for 2053. And in conclusion, as you know, like other parties, we are trying to increase our ambitions on the mitigation efforts under the UNFCCC Paris Agreement. With this project, with this FOLO sectors, focus on the FOLO sectors, we will provide expertise, and also we will support our NDC implementation and long-term strategies, and build robust system for Turkey. And again, I would like to thank you to Mitigation Work Program partners and all participants for attention to give this opportunity. And If you have any question and comments, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pinar. Çok teşekkürler. I would actually pass the word first on my left to you.
Thank you very much, Pinar. Really, really interesting presentation. And actually, this is a very exciting space, interesting topic. Every country across, or most countries, I should say, not every country, but most countries have this AFULO problem. And yet it's a resource that we can really, really harness and capture. My first feedback would be, who are your stakeholders? Who are you pitching this to? And what is the benefit that they're going to accrue from this grant being spent? And the more you can articulate that in money, the better. So what is if you look at business as usual, what is the cost consequence of business as usual from having this waste stream? A lot of this kind of waste is burnt on the fields, causing very significant air pollution. I used to work and live in Indonesia. It was incredible. It was like being in a fog, the amount of air pollution and the number of working days lost by people not being able to go to work because they had lung problems was material to the economy. Quantify in economic terms and financial terms the cost of business as usual. It really helps tell the story. But also, as part of your scope of your work, it would be really useful to do market studies, bankable market studies, on what is the value proposition. How are you going to turn this resource into a commodity? It's not a waste, it's a resource. How do we turn it into a commodity? Is there opportunity in your market for using this for construction material, or as a biofuel, or as a biofertilizer? The aviation industry, as the aviation industry tries to look at sustainable aviation fuel, is looking for large, reliable, sustainable sources of biomass. They cannot use biomass that would come from a food supply chain. That will not be acceptable under the new standards. So they are looking for these kind of resilient, sustainable sources of biomass. And it's a high-value opportunity. So key here to me is show us the value proposition. Show us through doing bankable market studies, what is the value proposition? The second part of what I would say is I'm exhausted with reviewing the work that we have funded in capacity building of capacity building people, workshops and training. And then I go to the country and I say, where's the capacity? Oh, she left. Oh, he's working over there. That is not capacity. There's no sustainability legacy. I'm seeing lots of people around the room nodding because you feel the pain. We need a different way of thinking about this. We have good practice in many market spaces of looking at technical readiness level assessments, which, as you look at, say, 1 to 9 of readiness over different domain areas, are KPIs of what is the existing situation in certain countries or best practice or better practices. Simple benchmarking exercise. So to map out a technical readiness level matrix for the AFULO space, not just the technical issues, but the regulatory, institutional, financial, on how do we get to best in practice. And then use that matrix to assess where we're at versus where we need to get to by investing in systems. I really appreciated you referring the importance of a registry, for example. That's very important. Investing in systems, because systems have legacy. Systems give confidence to financiers. They give data which we can rely on. It makes a big difference. The last thing I want to come to is the $2 million ask. First of all, what is the value proposition? We spend $2 million. How big is this sector? As business as usual versus where it can get to. What are we opening up? Why is this the best use of money in a space where there is so much demand for how we use that money? GCF has $4 million per country, including for Turkey, for capacity building, but that has to be used for a whole range of capacity building for delivering on the NAPs and NDCs. So it is unlikely that GCF would be able to provide $2 million for this project. But this is not just a climate change project. This is a range of different issues project. And if there was co-financing coming in there, if there was the aviation authorities or the International Energy Associations or IRENA and so on coming together to look at co-financing this along with the agriculture space, that would give us much more confidence that the relevant stakeholders are in the room, because we need all the relevant stakeholders to be in the room to take this forward and make it work. So co-financing gives confidence, because we then know the others are in the room. So far stronger you come at this where you're saying we are looking for the co-financing of this portion of our resources or other people's resources to bring everybody to convene to get this change to reach this outcome. But I really commend you and I encourage you to keep on persevering with your endeavours, because quite frankly, I've looked at this in other countries and I think there's a lot of opportunity and very exciting. Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Ewan. I understand that we have Bradley online from the Islamic Development Bank. Yet, with his permission, I would like to engage him in the next for the next presentation to stick with the time. I want to thank Pinar for her presentation, and just also a small suggestion from my side. This is exactly the kind of projects funded by the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency of the GEF, up to $1 million. I've seen very similar projects funded through this window, through the GEF 8 finishes next year in June, but of course they're preparing GEF 9. If they continue with CBIT, I think this is perfect for them. Pinar, any final word you want to say?
Thank you so much. First of all, your kind words and the facilitator, and also from the GCF. Thank you, Mr. Ivan. Thank you for your comment. Well noted. And I hope this project will be useful for Turkey, and we will find a financer for this one. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pinar. We now move to our second case from Russia. The title is Technology for Obtaining and Applying a Soil Improver Based on Biochar, which has the effect of sequestration of greenhouse gases. We have online Madame Anna Tsibina. Can you hear us, Anna?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We do. Perfect. The floor is yours then.
Okay, thank you so much. So thanks for introducing me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anna Tsibina, and first of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to be here and to represent. Actually, we are a group of scientists from Perm Polytechnic University of Russia, and today I'm going to tell you about a project that we have been implementing since a year or so. It is about obtaining a soil improver based on biochar. So, first of all, I would like to say that an estimation is saying that up to 80% of the cultivated land in Africa is nowadays degraded. Why is it like that? The main reasons are overgrazing, deforestation, soil erosion, poor soil management practices in cultivated lands. This situation creates a huge risk to food security and livelihoods across the continent. But the problem of soil degradation is not unique for the African continent. Farmers in Russia, in South America, in Europe, in Asia face similar challenges. Additional pressure comes from the problems of some regions and countries, such as poor soils, poverty, malnutrition, and hunger. Farmers today need to increase agricultural productivity while soil quality is deteriorating. So the process of soil degradation is accelerating, and it is also worsening due to global warming. Even in areas where the soil is not completely degraded, the consistent decline in fertility due to erosion, loss of water, nutrient holding capacity of the soils is leading to the same result. Some farmers have to abandon parts of the farm that are no longer productive and clear new, fresh, fallow land. So, what do we suggest in our project? To ease the situation with soil degradation, we suggest to develop and to apply biochar-based soil conditioners derived from timber or agricultural waste, which offer carbon sequestration benefits. This approach addresses two main objectives. First one, waste valorization, utilizing industrial byproducts as long-acting carbon carriers for mineral additives, for bioactive compounds, plant growth-promoting microorganisms. Second objective, greenhouse gas emissions reduction, sequestering carbon and converting greenhouse gases, thereby reducing atmospheric emissions. We see several key benefits of our project. In contrast to conventional organic fertilizers that undergo rapid decomposition, biochar demonstrates remarkable stability in soils, effectively sequestering carbon for centuries. Application of the suggested technology reduces emissions in nitrous oxide, which is a strong greenhouse gas that is formed during conventional fertilizers application. The soil structure and water holding capacity are strongly enhanced, therefore improving agricultural resilience to drought conditions, increasingly critical feature taking into account the rising frequency of hot temperature and extreme weather events. The technology delivers additional climate benefits by decreasing dependence on synthetic mineral fertilizers whose manufacturing processes are inherently carbon intensive. All in all, the project simultaneously addresses carbon sequestration, emissions reduction, and climate adaptation challenges, which makes it particularly valuable for comprehensive climate strategies. Our project has not one, but two key areas of use, of application. First one, pyrolysis units of simple design and low productivity, low capacity, where farmers can process organic crop residues in situ and obtain a useful product, biochar, that can be directly applied on their farmlands. Second area is the disposal of huge amounts of organic waste, such as wood processing waste, like bark, or garden waste, and so on. Instead of simply paying for landfilling this kind of waste, we offer to process it inexpensively and obtain a marketable product which has an attractive cost price. You may ask, why there's lack of funding for such an attractive idea? The main reason for the lack of funding from the public and private sectors is the combination of high initial cost and long payback period. The technology requires high-level initial scientific and technical research, a long period of bringing the product to the market. State programs to support agro-industrial complex are traditionally focused on subsidizing standard fertilizers rather than something innovative, like innovative environmental solutions. An additional obstacle is the underdevelopment of legislative framework in our country. We believe that in these conditions, the optimal solution is a financing model based on state grant support for research and development and subsequent financing by investors and funds at the stage of product introduction to the market. Well, I believe shortly I presented the idea of the project, the key features of it, the benefits, and I'm happy to answer your questions, whether you have them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anna, for your presentation. If Yuan doesn't mind, I would like first to engage Bradley from the Islamic Development Bank. Bradley, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me at your end?
We do perfectly. Thank you, Bradley, for joining this session.
No problems. Thanks for having me. Maybe what I will do is respond to both cases, actually, because there was a little bit of overlap there, if that's okay.
Please, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, so firstly, I would just like to say, I think as the colleague from GCF mentioned before, that the Afolu sector is one that has a lot of potential, but also has challenges associated with it as well. Certainly there's potential for mitigation, and this was being discussed, but also from a development bank perspective, obviously there's livelihoods tied to this sector as well, and also resilience building opportunities. So over the last year or more, we've been working on concepts such as just land transition, which is looking at, instead of just energy transition, as people are probably familiar with, how do we move the land sector forward in the future to be both low carbon and also resilient? So this is something that's quite interesting. And we're also doing work with partners on another concept which is related, which is called the yellow economy. So you might be familiar with the green economy or the blue economy, but the yellow economy is looking at particularly some of these semi-arid and arid areas that are mostly focused around the Afolu sector as well. So that's just some context setting. Then next at the Islamic Development Bank, we have a range of investments across different sectors, but one area that has been a focus over the last couple of years and continues to be so is around food security. And so part of that is looking at agricultural value chains, particularly at specific commodities. So looking at producers all the way through to end users and building resilience into those systems. So conservation agriculture can be part of this. Across different commodities such as cassava, wheat, maize, etc. And some of these are particularly focused in West Africa, but also in other regions as well. Just for both colleagues, some ideas for potential sources of particularly grant support. Certainly at the Islamic Development Bank, we're a South-South development bank, so we have less grant resources than some other multilateral development banks. But as the colleague mentioned from GCF, there are some resources available via them. Also, the GEF, the Global Environment Facility, was mentioned. And I understand they also have some focus on the Afolu sector and drought resilience as well. A couple of other things to think about. We work quite closely with the NDC partnership. And so they do provide grants for countries to support activities that strengthen action on the NDCs. And we've just had one recently, which is around $1 million. So for the first person from Turkey, perhaps in that case, you could look at perhaps a two-phase program. Phase one, where you did something at the maybe $1 million mark, and then potentially a follow-up with phase two if you wanted to go down this path. And in one of those projects, we're developing a platform. So again, as the colleagues mentioned, what would be the capacity building before? In one of the cases, we're looking at a platform which then encourages investment to come in around the water, energy, and agriculture or food sector. A couple of initiatives which I think are very relevant for both presentations so far. One is called the Middle East Green Initiative, which may be launched in 2025 or 2026. And this is looking at a really integrated approach across the Middle East, North Africa, but further into Africa and also into Central Asia, as integrated sort of restoration of degraded landscapes and then livelihood support as well, but also carbon sequestration being a major component of that. So certainly Turkey could be eligible for that, and I know some of the countries that you may be looking at working in may be also eligible for this. So there may be support for knowledge, for technical assistance, and then ultimately investment for that as well. Another initiative which maybe will be commencing in 2026 is called the Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership. And I think this targets the 75 or 80 of the world's most drought vulnerable countries, again in a similar model with the technical assistance available, maybe leading to lending as well, which we see as sort of opportunities for scaling. Certainly with the multilateral development banks, we do support knowledge and research or piloting to some degree, technical assistance. But then as colleagues mentioned, I think when we start looking at scaling and going beyond capacity building, lending can be one avenue to do that, to reach scale, but also policy influence as well, as some other colleagues mentioned. And the last point I would make, I agree with the GCF colleague on linking to impact, but also just to note for the multilateral development banks that often our main liaison is with the Ministry of Finance. So I think if you're developing programs from a sector, whether it be from climate change or agriculture or others, certainly ultimately coming to the Ministry of Finance can help in terms of scaling, for potential borrowing or other activities as well. So I'll stop there. I know time is a bit limited, but hopefully that helps. Happy to follow up and answer questions or connect with people after the session as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Bradley. Very helpful and interesting. I would now pass the floor to Yuan.
So thank you very much again for your presentation. I think, again, a very interesting topic. I think one of the challenges for biochar is it's a relatively new product, and there is that fear of adapting to something new. So very powerful when you're presenting, if you could demonstrate that this has been established in various markets and what is the value proposition where it has been established, to show that it's in dollar terms, how much real value is this providing, both financially, economically. But I think that other part of this is, I've just done a very quick Google search. The existing market is somewhere between $300 to $500 million globally. And the forecast future market within 5 years is somewhere between 2 billion and 5 billion, depending on which sources you look at. So that tells me two things. It tells me that this is already, in some spaces, an established product, and that it's a proven technology, and that there is recognition in the market this is going to grow. So really the question I would really like to hear from your presentation is, what is your roadmap for how you are going to have your share of that piece of market? And what capacity building, what support do you need, not just to get the first step, but to get a really meaningful share within 5 years? Any financier is going to be interested in that kind of story with that kind of growth. Unfortunately for the GCF, the ticket size you're talking about is too small for us directly. So I refer either to what Bradley was referring to, or to potentially our sister funds, the GEF or the SIF, as potential sources of financing. We're not in the space of doing pilot projects. We want to scale up proven technologies, proven solutions. There are equity funds that we have put money into who are looking for innovative technology. The contracts for those equity funds are on our website. It's very visible what they're contracted to finance. So if you have a good equity proposition, I would encourage look into the GCF website for the equity funds that are working in your target markets, and look at the contact details, approach them directly to say you have an investment opportunity. Spasiba.
Thank you so much, Ian. Anna, I would like to close this part with you if you want to comment on the interesting observation done by ISDB or GCF or any other remarks you want to do. Anna, to you.
Yes, thanks a lot for your suggestions. I was trying to write down everything so that we have a look at it later. Answering you, I would like to say that maybe our key benefit is that we are going to propose a customized solution. So we have a range of products because we've developed a technology which is now at the level 5 to 6 if we talk about ERL. But as I mentioned in my presentation, the technology is applicable both for farmers with just small pyrolysis units and for the huge industrial sites that face a problem of processing huge amounts of organic. So that would be a benefit, we think. But yes, thank you for your questions, for your suggestions. I think they are really very useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. We appreciate your time and interest, and wish you a wonderful weekend. Thank you again, Anna. Colleagues here in the room, do you want to make any comment or observation? Ashley, unfortunately, the third participant from Liberia cannot make it. So before we close the session, I'm happy to invite you to share any views, advice, suggestions you may have. If not, I would like Ashley to thank the ISDB, the GCF, and of course the always kind Secretariat and Salamimi for their support, you participants, and I encourage you to go back to meeting room number 1 for their closing the session there, and then we'll have the closing of the session and of the Climate Week. No.
There's another session after, but we will have a coffee break.
Okay.
After the close with the Brazilian.
Perfect. So shortly before all this, a coffee break coming shortly. So thank you very much, and see you at the coffee break and in the next room.